Dan Dickau alongside Adam Morrison. This is Gonzaga Nation on the Gonzaga Nation Media Network. We are talking about the big time matchup in South Dakota. That's right, South Dakota, not in Waco, Texas, not in Spokane. It's Baylor and Gonzaga at the Pentagon in Sioux Falls. I've been there before. Adam, you're going to be going there for the very first time. I think you're going to be blown away with the facility. Before we talk about favorite gyms, which the Pentagon's one of mine, what are your thoughts on this Baylor game and this Baylor team?
It's going to be a tough matchup. Obviously, there's the storyline of playing them after losing that national championship game a couple of years ago. So that's going to be on the back of Zag fans' minds, and it's an opportunity for us to get a tournament resume type of win on a neutral floor. So I think it's a big game for us coming up.
I've been impressed with Baylor's head coach Scott Drew. I've gotten to know him a little bit over the years. I know his brother Bryce a lot better just because, we played in the NBA around the same time. You probably played against Bryce as well, I would imagine. But he took over that Baylor program when basically nobody would touch it, and he's grown it into one of the elites. When you look at a college program that is an elite, what separates an elite from a good or a great program, in your opinion?
I think it's a multitude of things. I think first you got to have the right culture. You got to have stability as a coaching staff. You can't, you got to have the backing of your athletic department. So if there's a down year or a year that maybe go 21-10 or something like that, that's still a good basketball team and have some tough losses. You can't freak out and let a guy go or tell him he has one more year to get it right. So I think stability is huge. Obviously, facilities help. If you have the backing like Baylor does in that conference, Big 12, that has a lot of money, it's easier to recruit. If your building's like, hey, you can make a name for yourself, but we're not playing in rinky-dink gyms. We got everything you need. Now you can come down here and be the guy, or collectively the guys, and make a name for yourself and be legends around here. So I think stability, facilities, backing are all necessary to try to build a program that's consistent and long term, that has a lot of success.
There's been a lot of talk about Gonzaga moving to the Big 12, the Pac-12, Mountain West over the years. I think there's credence and there's credibility to some of those rumors. I think there's a lot of credibility to sticking around the WCC. Quite frankly, I think the McCarthy Athletic Center, as much as I love it, there would need to be some changes. There need to be more additional seats. I don't know how you get around the lack of football around the program. If there's one thing that's kind of a hindrance in your opinion, what would it be?
Like going to the Big 12, like
either the Big 12 or Pac-12.
Well, yeah, I think for me, like if you're just looking at the simple dollars and cents of it, like jumping into those major TV contracts that those athletic departments scratch and claw for, and rightfully so. I mean, it stabilizes your athletic departments. It stabilizes a lot of the funding in the university. Is how do you do it without football? So when you join, how do you share that revenue? Because like I said, if you don't have football, why are you entitled to that money? And it's big dollars, and it's the type of dollars where when they make those TV contracts, they fight over nickels for months, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like 0.5% here is $10 million or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's fighting over nickels, and so that's the biggest question mark for me. Is I think we can compete, obviously, on the floor. I think we have enough support and donors around the Northwest that help out to make us relevant as far as facilities. I think facilities get a little bit overlooked sometimes, but it is hard to go to a Texas or whoever else is in that conference, and Oklahoma State, and be like, wow, they just built an arena for 380 million. And you know what I'm saying? So like, I get that side of it. But for me, it's how does us getting into either the Big 12 or the Pac-12 or even the Mountain West, how do we equate without football? The counter to that is, well, our brand is massive and it ups your brand for basketball because we have a stretch on the West Coast for TV numbers, right? So then that's the counter to it. But it'd be interesting to sit and be a fly on the room whenever they have those type of conversations to really hear how the money would get split, because that's what it's really about. And
Yeah.
people may not like it or not, but athletic departments need to make money to survive. They need to do it for all the non-revenue sports. I mean, look at UCLA that talked about going to the Big Ten. They said they were $90 million in debt, and that's one of the, best universities on the West Coast, if not the US, as far as academically, and then with a sports brand or a footprint in the biggest market, second biggest market in the country, and they were struggling to pay their bills. So to me, I know it's a long-winded answer. I just would have to be really, really curious on how the dollars get split up with a non-football school like Gonzaga.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions that would have to get flushed out before there was any agreement. But obviously, Stanford and Mark Few would make the right decision, for the university with their athletic department. You were going to be calling the game with Huddy in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, at the Pentagon against Baylor, as I mentioned. Let's quickly go through our favorite gyms at each level. High school level, you played in the state tournament. You played in the GSL. Favorite gym in the high school level?
Home gym, Meade High School, man. No question.
All right, I'm gonna go with if I'm gonna. I agree with you. The home gym in high school, Prairie High School, for me is phenomenal. But there was a high school in Vancouver, Battleground High School, the old gym. I got to play there my freshman year before they tore it down and rebuilt one. It had that Hoosiers type feeling to it. It was built in like the 1920s. There was dead spots all over the floor. It was awesome. Favorite college gym to play in?
That's a good one. We've played in a bunch, and sometimes that answer turns into it's an NBA arena. So I'm trying not to add one of those schools that we played a fun atmosphere in an NBA arena. As far as like a road atmosphere, with the hostility and the feeling, I always like playing at St. Mary's. And I know that sounds funny, but like it's so small and so visceral in there that I always had fun. And I played well in there multiple times. So I guess like St. Mary's was always a fun gym to go to because it was such hate and the games were always good.
Yeah. For myself, my time at Gonzaga, it would have been Pepperdine, because Pepperdine was rolling at the time. They would sell out that gym. The crowd was great. When I was at UW, we played at Oklahoma State, and that gym was awesome. Like it felt like 3 levels right on top of you. I think it's called Gallagher-Iba Arena. It was great. How about favorite gym in the NBA?
I think this is probably a cliche answer, but everybody likes to go to Miami.
Really?
Yeah.
It's FTX Arena. I'm curious what they're gonna name it now, right?
Yeah, that was a bad mistake for everybody, I guess.
Oh, Miami. You know what's fun? What's cool about that is it's literally like you could walk out the loading dock and look out at Biscayne Bay and be like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna play minutes tonight. I'd rather be on a boat out there.
Yeah, no, it's just it's Miami, man. So it's just
Yeah.
like being down there is cool.
Yeah. For me, I liked the Rose Garden because I grew up in the Portland area. I thought that would be awesome. Madison Square Garden is awesome, but there's no frills to it. There's like nothing cool about it. For me, honestly, I loved, and you're probably gonna laugh at this. Memphis and Indiana, I thought were tremendous arenas.
Yeah, Conseco is cool. We played there. Obviously, I played there in the league, and then we played there. We got blown out by Illinois my sophomore year. That team that went undefeated and lost in the championship game. But yeah, it's got a weird feel because it's like this. Everything's slanted.
Yeah.
It's one of the first that really concentrated on no bad seat in the house, which is a cool concept. And I think most arenas now have that feel. The newer ones, like if you sit nowhere, you're pretty much unobstructed throughout the process. So Conseco is cool. Yeah, there's some cool arenas.
Yeah. Now, as a broadcaster, you and I have both been able to go across the country and call games. What would your favorite arena to broadcast at so far? And then what is your bucket list arena to call a game at?
Well, I think I've done games in Madison Square, like you said. I've done pretty much anywhere. I thought just being in, the Climate Pledge Arena, just how new it was and understanding like how it's built underneath the surface. You know what I'm saying? So they kind of made it work with the footprint where Key Arena was and made it work. So I was really impressed with that gym when we played there last year. Bucket list. I'd like to play a game at Rupp or Indiana or something like that. You know what I mean? Like somewhere historic. It's not necessarily like the aesthetics of the building per se, but I'd like to call a game in somewhere where it's got a lot of history.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've been to Climate Pledge yet, but I've heard great things. I've had a chance to call a game at Duke for Westwood One Radio. I've called a game at Rupp Arena. You're going to call a game at Rupp as long as you're still doing the games with GU in the next couple of years. It's an unbelievable atmosphere. Those Kentucky fans will be all over you, that's for sure. But the only problem as a radio guy is you're way up high. Now, I don't know if the actual team broadcasters are down on press row, but the national group, our Westwood One, we were way up high. And my bucket list would be Indiana as well. Just the history of Assembly Hall and Allen Fieldhouse at Kansas. Those are my two. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gonzaga gets a series with Kansas and or Indiana soon, because those are two blue bloods that need to be on Gonzaga's bucket list to play.
Yeah, no, I could see. We were trying to do Kansas during COVID. You know what I mean? So that series was on the table. So I wouldn't be surprised if it gets back.
Yeah, well, you'll be able to check that one off your list too. So, can't wait to hear your experiences at the Pentagon in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, one of my favorite gyms. This Gonzaga season, a lot of people are disappointed in the record. I think it's just a bump in the road because this team, in my estimation, has a long ramp to get good. I think they got the talent to get good. It's just finding out how to put the pieces in the right place and then get guys to understand where those pieces fit, understand it, believe in it. And then once that happens, I think this will be a tremendous season.
Yeah, no, I mean, 4-2 is not the end of the world. We lost to obviously a really good Texas team, and then we lose to a really good Purdue team that we just talked about. So it's like, I mean, it's early. I mean, we still have a lot, like you said, a lot of chances to improve. Some of it's just bad matchups. But it's, I mean, I always want to know, like, people complain when we win by 35 every year, all year. And then now it's like the games are closer and that's a problem. So sometimes it's funny to listen to the conjecture that the fans do or do not like, and you can't please everybody is basically what I'm saying.
Amen to that. So appreciate the time. We will be back next week. So have yourself a great trip back to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And there is one restaurant. I'm going to try to look it up and remember what it is. Adam, you got to go check it out. It's one of the best I've been to across the country.
Sweet.